Hello, and welcome to the North Carolina Museum of History and the fourth annual Education Day in conjunction with our African American Cultural Celebration, which is in its 24th year. Our presenter, Alfreda Johnson, will begin in just a moment, but we want to start with a few notes. Remember, you can ask questions in the chat and we'll do our best to respond to them and share with our presenter. We thank the following sponsors of the North Carolina Museum of History Foundation, helping to make this event possible. A fourth generation basket weaver, Alfreda Johnson grew up in South Carolina, where her family made and sold sweetgrass baskets at a roadside stand that still exists. For more than 30 years, Ms. Johnson has lived in Charlotte, where she exhibits her award winning work at juried festivals. Welcome. What are you sharing with us today?
Today, I would be sharing the Charleston Sweetgrass basket um, oh my God,
What are your materials?
the materials are the sweetgrass, the longleaf pine needle, the bulrush, and the palmetto leaves.
I didn't realize there were so many materials. So, where is the origin of your work?
The origin of the work is from Sierra Leone. It's a West African art. It's actually 300 plus years old. I am the fourth generation basket weaver in my family to be weaving the basket. I'm honored to be here today to share my artwork, my craft, and how the baskets are being made.
That's wonderful. Can you share with us some stories or how you learned or how you got involved in your family's traditions?
I've learned the basket from my mom. She's passed on now. I am the fourth generation in my family to actually be weaving the basket. I've been doing this for the past 58 years. For 58 years, I carry my work with me throughout my travel, my journey. After leaving Charleston, I went on to work with the First Union Bank, retired. During working, I still was able to present my work through festival, which uh, festivals, some teaching um, in the area to help the underprivileged kids have something to do. I also during work hours, after work, I would actually put in 2 hours of work each day for the past probably 26 years because I've been retired for the past few years. And now I do this full time. And working on this full time, I actually do like between 9, 10 hours a day weaving the baskets. I'm honored to present and to represent for all the basket weaver along the courier of the Charleston, Mount Pleasant, West Ashley, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head, Kewah Island. You can find these baskets in any and everywhere along the coast of Charleston, South Carolina.
That is amazing. Share with me exactly how your mother taught you. What did she start with? Can you show us?
Yes, my mother started us with you making the knot, which is the knot here. This is the starting point of weaving. This is the knot. You weave. This is what the starting point of making the Charleston sweetgrass basket. This is the starting point here. Now that I'm almost at the end, I am adding more material, which is the pine needle, always long leaf pine needles, um, so that you would be able to get a very, very tight knot. You would have to have it a little bit damp, so whenever you ties it, it would stay in the position that when you want that perfect circle. This is the starting point here. Um, Once you get it large enough, I usually do silver dollar size pine knot to make my bottom, and then I would end up adding the sweetgrass to it. So right now we are just going to be working with um, just the pine needles to get a perfect circle. And this is the hardest part. This is the hardest part of making the basket once you get the perfect knot. Because if you do anything different, my mom always say if it's not a perfect knot, it's not a good basket, and she was right. Because it was many days that we would have to start all over because we didn't pay attention to what she was saying. Perfect knot mean making it the perfect size. If your starting point is perfect, your entire basket would come up to be a perfect piece of artwork. And this is the pine knot.
What is the tool you're using?
The tool I'm using here, I had this. We call this a nail bone, and I had this one for about 45 years. It goes everywhere with me in my pocketbook. Everywhere I go, except when time to get on the plane, I would have to take it out. But I make sure to keep this with me at all time. Um, that's and this is this is the hardest part about getting a perfect knot.
Is the knot different sizes depending upon
It's,
what you're making?
yes, ma'am. The difference between this one is circle, which is round. The oblong one is a little bit harder because you have to go from side to side. This one, you're just keeping it in a circle. Um, so I'm almost at the point to where I can add some sweetgrass to it. And for the sweetgrass, we usually use in the more of the industrial type, which is people use it for like display. We use the coast grass. Well, I use the coast grass for display work. And for those that use it every day, I use the soft grass, which is two type, one soft and the other one coast. Either one, you would have a perfect basket. So,
I just want to understand. So you're saying use different types of sweetgrass depending upon if the work is to be displayed as art or if it's to be utilitarian. Is that
both for a display for
okay?
art and utilitarian. You can use, but I only use the coast grass just for my large work, like the phantom behind me. It would make it more of a sturdier piece of artwork. And this, I'm ready to put in my sweetgrass. This is the soft sweetgrass here. This is the soft one. It actually feels like silk. This is soft. Um,
Where does that come from?
Along the coast of Charleston, which Myrtle Beach, Hardeeville, South Carolina. A lot of basket weaver they travel. I went as far as Pensacola, Florida for material. And now that the development have taken up a lot of the area that we usually harvest our sweetgrass, it sends the basket weaver and the harvesting area further out from the local area. But because of the development along the coast and in other area, the sweetgrass is just hard to find. And normally, with me, when they call and say we're gonna go harvesting, if I can't make it, I would ask somebody to pull, and then I would purchase, and I would have to pay. But I've been out traveling overnight just to harvest the sweetgrass.
It's a
So
natural resource
it's a
that you
natural
can
resource.
harvest and then it comes back.
Yes, and after harvesting, you have to dry them. You have to clean them. You have to cut them and edge them. You have to prep them for basket weaving. And normally, for this wheatgrass, it's going to take at least a week or two to start drying to a certain color to where you can use it. And secondly, the bulrush is also another material that we use, and it's this type of material. This is the bulrush. This is the darker material that is being used. This one, when you cut it, it's starchy green. You have to let it dry. I usually let mine dry between 8 to 10 weeks, and then it starts changing the color. As you weave the basket, you would find that you would have many different color um, within your artwork, but as it ages, it turns into a golden brown, beautiful golden brown. And a lot of people ask um, why the colors are so different. For me, I set my material to what the pattern that I want and what color I need my work to come out with. Um, so far, I have been able to obtain and get the material that I need to actually keep this um, tradition and the artwork going. So,
And you were saying earlier that there's distinctions between traditional and contemporary. Is that the other word?
well,
What am I
I
looking for?
use the term modern.
Okay, modern.
Um,
And
the
what are
tra-
what's the differences?
the traditional basket is normally the ones that the very first set of basket that was being made by the enslaved um, as they traveled. Um, so what they are is like the Fanta basket that is sitting behind me. That's a traditional rice Fanta basket. It was used in the older days to husk the rice, the husk from the rice as it was harvested. And then there's the traditional fruit basket, which is the one here with the handle across. And then there's the other traditional one would be the bread basket that is sitting here to my right, far right. And then there's the covered basket, which in the older days, the larger ones are being used for like bread warmers for people that when they got the large family that they have to cook for, they use it as bread warmer. Um, the journey basket is my prize and possession basket because that is the basket that is used, that was used when they was let go, when the slave was let go, and what little that they had, they put it along whatever they had in that basket on their journey is what they took with them. Um, Me myself, I always if I have to make one, I make it and put a little pizzazz to it so it tells me that my journey was a beautiful one.
How lovely.
Yeah,
How lovely.
yeah. Um,
So, are your muscles in your fingers exceptionally strong? I just have to wonder about your wrist, your
it
fingers. That is
the
some,
fingers are fine when they get really sore. It hurts really bad.
yeah.
I've had many calluses that I have obtained by working with the basket. But when you get seasoned to this, you don't feel it until you're ready to rest.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what does you spoke about the enslaved communities making these baskets, and so how does that resonate with you that you're continuing a tradition that goes back maybe hundreds, if not thousands, of years?
Well, I feel great because I am able to keep the tradition going. Um, the hardest part about this is that you have to have time and patience. So I have a lot of that on my hand now. I'm extremely proud, very proud of this artwork that I, obtained from my mom, fourth generation. Um, I guess I should say because without her bringing along with her mom, her great mom, her great great grandma, we won't be able to learn this art. So it came from her, which is I'm ecstatic because she was very particular about the way we do our work. Um, if it wasn't right, she would say, you can't put that out. And I'm happy because my sister, I mentioned Angela, she was the one that was my mentor so that I would be able to put out work that if my customer or people that is looking at my artwork is not satisfied, that makes me feel I didn't do my best. So I always put forth whenever I do my basket, my best shot. And if it don't look right to me, I'm not going to put it out. I'm not going to put it out.
I think that's a message that can transfer to just about any work or activity that people choose to do, right? Give your
Yes.
best.
Yes.
Um, yeah. And there's no reason not to start over if you have to.
Correct. Correct. Because tearing it back down is not fun. It's not fun at all. Because that's the waste for me. It's a waste of my time if I have to redo something. So I try my best to make sure it's the proficiency is there, and when my work is complete, that I can say I did my very best on that piece of artwork. And most of the time, I've already know what I'm going to make. When I start, I put it in my mind. If I'm going to do a bread basket, I put it in the back of my mind. My bread basket is going to have to be perfect because it's going to go on somebody's table. And whenever they have guests, I want them to understand that this is a piece of handwork that was made by Alfreda Johnson because I signed all of my work. And they're pleased so they can share it with the other family members also.
You spoke just now and earlier of designs. Are these patterns all in your head? Are they written down?
Um, the pattern that I brought with me today, it is the traditional basket. These are the only type that was being made when they first started weaving the basket from. This is a 300-year-old art. Those are the traditional ones, the one that was the very first set that was being made. And the modern design, people would probably say, um, the modern design for me is when I put a little decoration on it to change the traditional to something different. It's just by adding roses, braid, motif, or just pine knots. Those are the things that would make it a modern design basket.
Understood. Understood. So, you're talking about these multi generational craft, handwork, artistry that's passed down. And
Mhm.
so, how are you planning, looking forward to the future in your family or in the community at large? What's
Um,
going on with that?
and the older generation is still working hard on keeping the younger generation involved. I myself, I have my girls that they know how to do the basket. They older girls, they in their 40s, and they both appreciate the time, the effort that they put into their work also. I also have 10 grandkids and I have them involved also. Either they would have to help with my harvesting of my pine, set my bulrush out to dry. I make sure that they get involved because it's a lost art if we don't keep this up. The hardest part about this artwork is the material. If you have time, you should be able to produce a beautiful piece of work.
And those pine needles there, those are from longleaf pines. Am I
Those are,
correct?
yes, correct.
And we know the longleaf pine forests were a huge part of the Southeast geography, landscape
Yes,
for years and years and years until
yes,
much of it was cut down for naval stores and other reasons. But now they're having a comeback. And in North Carolina, you can go visit longleaf forest. And across the South, they're replanting them. A beautiful, hardy tree with very long pine needles for sure.
yes.
When you are at a possible place to take a break, could you show us more closely some of your baskets you have with you?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing, though. Now we're seeing a close up of your work, and look how much you've done just in this short time. I have a feeling that a beginner would not be moving this quickly. That is amazing. If we had students watching today who were interested in learning this craft, how would you suggest they go about it?
I would I would suggest that they get with um, pe- any person that is um, do classes. I tried doing them. I just was never able to have enough material.
Oh,
But I can point to a very few people that does the classes, but they're done in Charleston. They're
understood.
done in Charleston.
Understood. So
Yes.
maybe meeting a basket maker and befriending them is maybe the best way to
Um.
start learning and then figuring out the materials. So these materials, I know longleaf pine needles fall in longleaf pine forest
Mhm.
and the grasses grow near the coast.
Yes.
I don't suppose anybody is like growing them like on a farming basis.
No. No, ma'am.
Okay.
Um. The sweetgrass grows along the coasty wherever it's the coast along the coast. Um. The soft ones is from near on the beachy area. The coast one, it grows rapidly out in the wild.
So it really is a matter of hunting and gathering.
Yes, ma'am.
So these baskets are so carefully and strongly made. I assume they must last for a very long time. Is there care that's needed for them?
The only care that is needed for the basket is just if you get a little dirty or you spill something over in soapy warm water, wash it down with just soapy warm water. You just wave it up and down, set it aside, and let it dry. As long as it's wet, it's going to get really, really hard, but it will dry back to the natural texture.
All right. Well, I guess these natural materials are used to getting wet out
Hmm.
in nature, right?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson, do you display your work regularly and where do you do that?
I only display my work in Charlotte, North Carolina. Festival in the Park, which is held in September, is the last weekend in September, and Kings Drive Art Walk, which is held in the month of May um, at the Kings Drive Art Walk. Those are the only two places that I display my work, and I also have my shop on Etsy.com.
Well, and you will be sharing your work tomorrow
Yes,
at the African
African
American
American.
Cultural Celebration, which will be
Yes.
held in person. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So we're
Okay.
super glad to have you
Thank you.
at the celebration tomorrow, as well as today for our educators and students.
Okay.
So, what is your plan for this basket that you're making now?
This basket is probably going to be just either a Charleston Fanta basket, and the starting point on this one is today. I won't have this completed probably until mid-February would be the completion of this one because it's going to be a very large basket.
Like the one displayed.
Yes,
Yeah, that is a large basket. And you said that would be used to
to husk. Yes,
husk the rice?
husk the rice. It's just like you put the rice is in there and you go up and down and it would take the husk out of the rice.
The lighter husk would move off with the air,
Yes,
and the heavier rice would stay in
yes,
the basket.
yes.
Have you had the opportunity to meet someone from Sierra Leone who does this or any other places or seen any work from
Yes,
African
I
countries?
I have. Her name is Lydia Gittins. She was a family friend with our family. I met her at work um, while I was working in the banking industry, and I brought her over to my house for a family function. I was doing some work, and she went into my dining room. She said, "This work is from my hometown." And when she met my mom, She said to me, I knew your daughter had a hidden talent, but she never told me. But this is exactly what we do in Africa with multicolor.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So we talked about you might develop calluses on your fingers. Does the sweetgrass cut? Is it sharp?
Yes. Yes, you get splinters all the time. You get splinters, you get blisters, especially with the coast grass. The coast one is really, really hard. The soft one is very pliable, but with the coast one, you would have to do a lot of working with it to get it to stay in shape that you want.
Do any basket makers ever dye their grass?
No, these are all natural material, and it actually changes itself to the color. Each and every basket on this table started off just like what I have in my hand. And over time, it would gradually change. The color would just gradually change. From my right, this one, can
Yeah, please do.
it's a
Hold it
little
up
green.
in front of you.
It's a little green.
There you go.
It's a little green
Hmm.
because it's the fresh basket. This one was made a month ago.
And tell me
So
again the purpose of that basket.
this is a bread basket, a bread, fruit, or decorative basket. You can display it also. With this one, the colors are changing. And once it changes, it's going to go to a golden brown and yellow. So with this one, the reddish pine that is in the bottom of it, that pine is actually from Asheville, North Carolina. It's from Asheville.
Awesome.
Um, Once they start aging, the color, it would age. This one also, this is an October basket and it's aging to the color. Normally, it takes about 5 years for it to get to the golden brown. Once it's to the golden brown, you have a beautiful piece of artwork. The color pattern is always going to stay the same. It's just that the color would change. It's either darker or lighter.
And when you get a chance, we'd love for you to share one of the lidded baskets as well.
Okay. Now, the lidded basket, this one, this is a lidded basket. Here, this is a medium size, but you still can use it as a bread warmer basket. This is what was used in the older days that once the slave cooked their food for their people that they live with, they bake the bread, put them in the basket with the lid, put it on, and it keeps it warm. And then this one is multi-purpose. You can use it for a bread warmer, or you can just leave it as a decorative piece or display piece. Along with the lidded basket, this is the very starting point of a journey basket. So this is the journey basket that I spoke of earlier because the journey was a beautiful journey to be let go with humility. We know have um, yourself. You take everything with you, which a lot of people, because I don't travel with a lot of stuff, they put whatever they have, but their basket is a little bit larger than what I have in my hand. And for this one, I just put a little decoration on it because I feel like every journey in life should be a beautiful journey. So I just add just a little touch to it to make it a beautiful journey basket.
They're all beautiful. They're all stunning. That
Thank you.
handle is amazing.
Thank
How
you.
that has to be a whole craft in and of itself. As far and also the lids fit on the baskets. I don't know how you measure that. How do you do
Um,
that?
what I do when you want a perfect lid to fit on your basket perfectly, you count your rows from the bottom of the basket because if I have 8 on top, I should have 7 on the bottom. Once you get 7 on the bottom and 8 on the top, all you have to do is start taking it down and the lid would fit perfectly.
I You have a lot of knowledge.
Thank you.
A lot of
Thank
knowledge, a
you.
lot of skill. This is
Yes, and I am grateful because my mom, she taught me to always, if I'm going to do something, do it right. If you do it to correctly in the beginning, you always end up with a perfect ending. So, and and I take that with me everywhere I go. I take that with me everywhere I go.
100%. I think
Yes,
that, as we said, that can go for any of our endeavors.
yes, yes.
So the rice basket is really large. Is that the biggest basket you've made,
I
or
I have made them up to 36 inches.
it's
The
really
one behind me is 24 inches, which is 2 feet wide and 5 inches deep. Now that one took a while. It took, wow, I would grant more than 7 weeks to complete.
and you said the one you're working on right there
It's,
is going to be similar in size, and
yes,
it's going to
similar
take you into February or
in mid
March,
February.
mid-February.
Hmm.
Do you just work on one basket at a time?
Yes, just one at a time. Um, I always um say, for instance, today I starting my Fanta basket. This one is probably going to be the Fanta basket that is not deep. It might have like 2 rows, which is 1 inch deep, and this one would take me into mid-February. So now that I have started this one as a Fanta basket, I'm not going to start any other basket because I have to keep a clear mind on what I'm going to do. Because if I do two at a time, it's not going to come out right.
I think I would translate that to culture today, where we try to say that we can multitask.
Yes,
And I find that when I multitask, sometimes I'm not really doing anything well. But if I'm focused, I think if people focus, then like you're saying, you're anything worth doing is worth doing right.
yes.
I appreciate that very, very much.
Thank you.
So even your baskets that are decorative or art, I they're also functional. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have a preference on style or type of basket you make? Do you love them all equally? Do you have a favorite basket
Um,
child?
I love my Fanner basket
Okay.
because that one I put a lot of emphasis, which I do with all my work. But a Fanner basket is a very challenging basket. You're going to have to make sure it's perfect from the beginning to the end to have that perfect ending to where your colors are set aside. Because normally I do my color pattern by numbers. If I'm going to do 4 rows of pine, I would do 4 rows of sweetgrass. If I'm going to do 5 row of pine, I'm going to do 3 rows of sweetgrass just to keep a pattern
Mhm.
that would pop, make my pattern pop on each piece of my work.
Understood. So going back to those incredible handles, how do you construct those coming out of the basket?
The whenever I get my basket up to a point to where I can put the handle on it, say for instance my cross handle tray, I will build my base stuff first, the entire base. And from that point, once I get it up to like this one is 3 inches deep to the side, I would add the sweetgrass and then I would wrap my handle. I would turn the basket to the opposite side, which I would have to go left handed. And then I would have to start sewing to my left side. Once I get the handle on this side position, I would put it down, wrap, wrap, wrap around. Then I would bring it back to the edge, bring the edges back to this, bring it back. And then from the second half that I added when I wrapped it, I would bring it and I go this way. You have to go twice there, twice, and there's an ending here and an ending here. One would be higher than the other.
The way you say it, I can understand it. I
Okay.
just can't imagine doing it.
Okay.
It's a challenge. And what is the wrapping? What is that material?
The wrapping material is the palm tree
It is
leaves,
the
the
okay.
palm tree.
Okay.
And with the palm tree leaves, they come green.
Right.
You have to pinpoint what you do. You just cut the tip of it off. You sit it out for a few days. Once you set it out, you strip it down with. Once you strip it down, you lay it flat for 4 days. Once that's what I do, lay it down for 4 days. It cures really hard. This is just like tape. It's hard. So once we tape it down, here's the one. Actually, I knew I was coming here on Monday. What I did, this is the strip that, this is the strip. And to start preparing, this is what you do. This is what I call stripping the palmetto. Just stripping the palmetto. This is waste. This is waste. This is the palmetto to be used. And this is very strong. That's This is the stripping that holds the basket together. Now this is ready to be used now because it's cured. Only thing I have to do is to point the edges, and this is what we do for pointing. Just just point it enough so once the head dry on it, you would be able to use it. But this is ready to be used. I stripped this one. I had to get ahead of the game. I stripped this one on Monday.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You make that look super easy. I have a feeling that that represents years of practice.
Years of
Decade,
practice.
decades of
Actually,
practice.
50, I think 57 years of practice there.
Okay. All right.
The bag that I just showed you, and it's all of my basket is starting with the color, this color. Within a few days, if you just sit it out, a lot of people like it when it's still this color. So what you would have to do is just keep it away from the sunlight because any sunlight would cause the color to change. But if you want to keep it as olive green, you just leave it in a shaded place and it'll age slowly.
Amazing. So I have to assume, given the purpose of some of these baskets, that they can hold a lot of weight and
Yes,
not break. Is that correct?
yes. The ones like, say for instance, if this is the journey basket, and Sally, you asked about how I got the handle on.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, once I made the top and the bottom, I actually sewed this into this side of the basket. And that's the road. I call it the road, the journey, the road, the
Right.
twisted handle is the journey of the road. And this is how I do um, put the handle on. If I'm going to put a rainbow handle, this is what I would do as a rainbow handle, but it would be like a big S for a rainbow handle. But this one is just a big C.
All right.
Yes.
I'm going to share with you some questions that have come in.
Okay.
Um, and some of them we've talked about, but let's just revisit.
Okay.
So we talked about your daughters and grandchildren
Okay.
are working to continue this tradition.
Okay.
But how large overall do you think the Sweetgrass basket weaving community is across
Whew.
the South? Do you think it's hundreds, thousands, dozens?
Oh, hundreds of thousands, because there's a lot of generational family. The generational family is when the mother, the daughter, the grandkids, and the great grandkids get into, they all get together and they all just weave, weave, weave. A lot of people, you can still find it now if you drive along the Charleston, from Charleston to Mount Pleasant down to Myrtle Beach. Any basket booth that you see that has multiple people, it's a generational basket stand. The ones that is solo, you can always tell because they would have fewer work than the generational crowd. With me and my family, I have four sisters other than myself, which is five. Um, they all work the same. They don't work, so they all do that booth, and we call it the legacy booth now because that's a permanent spot for them. But you can find the generational along the from back from Mount Pleasant straight to Myrtle Beach on either side of Highway 17, north and south.
All right. So much larger than I thought. I have
Yeah,
to
it's
admit to
large.
that. I thought it
Yes.
would be a fairly small community. Um, And how young? How old were you when you started? How young do
I
kids
was
start making baskets?
I was about 9, and my mom started us off with how to tie the knot and how to start a circle.
Okay.
And once you get to that point, she'll let you work your way through it. And if it's not um, perfect, she would say you would have to start over. So to keep me from starting over, which was the hardest point, I asked the question, why can't I finish it like it is? She said to me one day, go ahead and do it. So I did it. The basket was horrible. She said that was the point. I said, start over. You should have started over. And from that day to today's date, I make sure that my starting point is going to be just like my ending point, perfect.
It's absolutely lovely.
And
Go
for
ahead.
my girls, they're in their 40s. One is 43. The other one is 41. I taught them at an early age also. Deidre is perfect. Latanya is perfect. The only complication they would have is when they're getting ready to do either a handle or add colors. Then they would ask for my input. But I find my daughter, not putting them against each other, but I find Deidre does, she's, her work is like mine. And she's very meticulous about how she do her things. So, and I'm proud of both of them. And but Latanya does it part time, but Deidre does it full time. Latanya works with the in the medical field, so and she works with the Cancer Institute, so it takes time. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a time intensive
yeah.
activity, but you can do it
Yes,
when you have the time. And I am so grateful to you for sharing all this with us today and really for your message of whatever it is we do, we need to do it to the best of our
best
ability and don't
ability.
be afraid to start over if need be.
Yeah.
And I'm truly grateful to you. Thank you so much.